With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the site of round 5 of the season 4 Precision Racing League Cup Series in 2023. Dylan Coyle joined alongside Mark Kalin for not only the 5th round, the midway point of this season 4, but also the midway point of the round of 12 for the year-long PRL title in the Cup Series. There you go, Dylan Coyle, Mark Kalin. No Twitter for Mark, but that's okay. This is going to be a fun show. 150 laps here at this 1.5 mile track that has served up some whoopings lately in this in this series, in both the Cup Series and in the Real World Xfinity Series, I could say. We take a look at the PRL Cup Series schedule right now. You can see number 5, we are at that midway point after this race ends. We follow the Cup Series Real World schedule until after Phoenix. The last 2 rounds of the PRL Cup Series for 2023 will be Kansas Speedway and Chicagoland Speedway. Interesting places to end this season, this series on. Mark, I know you're very involved, of course, with everything in PRL Oval Racing. How exciting do you feel like this playoff battle that we'll get to in just a moment will continue to shape up to be?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this battle. The points are pretty tight, as you can see on screen right now, between Trent and Abner. Only 5 points between the teammates. And then pretty close between 3rd through 5th as well. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what these guys can showcase for us tonight and see how the points shape up after this evening's.
Yeah, all it is a win and you're into the next round. Abner Acosta, highlighted in blue, won last week. He has advanced to the round of 8. You're starting to see some drivers, Jay McDonald, Richard Pruitt, Eric Papanow. Well, they are some large distances in behind, and you have a feeling that for them to have a shot at advancing into the round of 8, they're going to need a win through the next 2 races. A tall task for some of the competitors here who are just that fast. They're all in this race session tonight. Luke Christian, though, and Jose Acosta, they're really going to need to step it up to get away from that cut line.
Yes, indeed they are. And yeah, for McDonald, Pruitt, and Papineau, it's going to be very tough sledding for them tonight. Basically, like you said, win is all they can do. Robert Beasall Jr. with 10 points below the cut line. He has the ability to race his way in. Still, that will be a tall task as well. But looking forward to these guys putting on a heck of a show here at Vegas. It has that progressive banking. And let's go ahead and move into the Cup standings.
We look at Season 4's Cup standings. One of the more unique aspects of Season 4 when we do go into the oval side here in PRL is the fact that it's not only the year-long playoff standings that we look at, but it's the individual season standings. And Abner Acosta being up top is no surprise. Trent Dinkle in second, no surprise either. However, if you're Trent, I think you're going to want to do everything you possibly can to cut that 27-point advantage as much as you can. And throughout practice, he was the fastest driver in 1-lap pace. Throughout qualifying, which is happening right now, Trent Dinkle is currently on the pole provisionally with Abner Acosta in second. So lots of interesting things going on here. We get a look at the Cup Series team standings, private label team hype. Again, no surprise that they're in first. SGE Esports Pioneer and SGE Esports Ironman are right there, second and third, but they are a good distance back from P1. As a team, I don't think you worry too much about what's going on in team standings as you do in driver standings. It just helps when your drivers are some of the fastest out there, of course, in the hands of the drivers for private label team hype as well, Mark.
Yes, and of course that team consisting of James O'Brien, Trent Dinkle, and Abner Acosta, their consistency is proven to be very tough to beat week in and week out. So SGE Esports with the closest battle there, they'll have to get it together and try and put these team label hype guys, in their place.
Try to take out the hype, right? If you want to go there. But how about we get hype about some of our partners with the Precision Racing League? This coverage is brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing, which is owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. We go to Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. It's competitively priced and carefully handcrafted button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seats. Mechasim Hardware. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from Czech Republic, and their goal is to provide high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Muradness. It's a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information on Muradness, visit muradness.com. And finally, Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And Mark, I feel like when we talk about Mr. Hedge, worst moments would have my name written all over it, because that's typically what I do when I'm behind the wheel. I know these drivers that are gridding up right now, though, especially the ones in our view, they've had a lot of best moments. So why don't we go over the grid? Trent Dinkle, will start from the pole at 29.3 flat is what he's set. James O'Brien, of course, that team, private label Team Hype, has locked out the first 3 spots in this 150 lap race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And next to, well, I should say behind Trent Dinkel is Abner Acosta in 3rd. In the 2nd row on the inside, Paul Bergoli. Good run for him. He's going to start in 4th. Jose Acosta needs a good run. He's starting 5th with Joshua Daniels in 6th alongside him in row 3. Chris Vincent in 7th with Luke Christian in 8th. Robert B. Saul Jr. and Federico A. Winterholder round out the top 10. Pat Harvey, Maverick Davis, your first 6 rows mark.
Yes, and in 13th, we have Rodrigo Loga. 14th, Matthew Campbell. Corey Ensing and Bruno Milo. Chad Kibbe, Richard Pruitt, rounding out your top 18.
And we keep it moving with Park Hilliard in 19th and Jose Medina in 20th, rounding out the top 20. Jay McDonald, Eric Papadow, Regan Chandler, and Tristan Callahan, the top 24. And then the last few drivers, some who have not been allowed to qualify. Eric Staropoli, I should say. Tama Macy, Chris Hudson, Waldo Walden, Mike Witt, and Colton Easterday. The bottom 4 did not set a time in qualifying for this evening's event. Pace car is off for 1 lap of pacing around this track in Las Vegas, Nevada, just a little bit outside the main portion of the city. You could say it's almost well, it's not almost, it is to the northeast side of Las Vegas. We get a look at the grid of 9 onboard cameras that we've got. Can't quite see who it is in the middle right, but that small non-square, more rectangular look is going to drive me crazy, but it's okay. We love everyone who's able to work with us at RaceSpotTV and get us footage that we'll be able to talk about for the rest of the night. Trent Dinkel was in the middle of that entire mirage of cameras. He is going to lead it off here. We get a look from behind the iRacing pace car. In just one word, Mark, what do you think this race is going to be? I would say chaotic. Look at the track conditions with a 10-mile-per-hour wind, but what we're looking at more is that 84-degree track temperature. It's going up slightly, not going to be that slick of a track. Pace car goes down inside pit lane, and we are ready to get racing here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Green is in the air. Let's go.
Pretty tame as they enter into turns 1 and 2 here on lap 1. And I tell you what, Dylan, I am looking forward to this race because the top 20 in qualifying were within 1 second of each other. I'm excited to see that. A lot of fast drivers out there.
Within 1 second is great. Right up to the back bumper is private label Team Hype's teammates. The 5 of Abner Acosta just went up to Trent Dinkel, almost gave him a shove heading into turn 3. Lap 1 is done. Dinkel leads the lap. In behind James O'Brien, the top 3 as we started. Everyone else starting to get single file. Just outside the top 5, though, Joshua Daniels is trying to make a move to gain some positions back that he just had.
Yeah, Daniels on the outside, trying to make some moves early, but the top line early on are really going to eat those tires up. So everyone wants to try and make it down to that bottom row as quickly as possible in the early stages here. And later in the run, we'll probably see them move up, trying to save some tire later on in the runs.
We see potential move up. James O'Brien a little bit loose. He's going to have to get the foot maybe off the throttle. No, he kept it in the whole time. Trent Dinkel, he gets by him. You got to wonder, and I'm going to ask you that, Mark, as well, as you see the leader is now James O'Brien. Is that a strategic pass, a strategic move? They don't want to race each other too hard right now, the top 3, but maybe it gets you better fuel mileage. You don't have to worry about hurting the tires as much. I almost feel like they could leave the pack behind if they really wanted to right now.
Oh, without a doubt, they absolutely could leave everyone in the dust. Trent and Abner themselves, they like to take it easy the first several laps. I believe James to be the more aggressive of the three early on. So it's no shock to me to see James out front trying to stretch the field out a little bit.
Certainly doing that right now. You see on board with the rear camera of the 33 machine looking back, and there's a little bit of a gap starting to form between James O'Brien and Trent Dinkle. His private label team hype teammate Abner Acosta is getting sealed off of the 42 of Jose Acosta. They know each other quite well. Jose is trying to get a run down the outside. Might have gotten a little bit tight off of corner number 4. And he's got a decent run, just not enough to go down the inside or down the outside whatsoever. The 42 car needs to make up some really solid ground to keep himself within striking distance of moving on into the round of 8 and potentially a win as he goes down the inside of Abner going into turn 3.
Yeah, sticking his nose under his brother there for a short minute while Abner got a great launch through the middle of turns 3 and 4 and got around Trent Dinkle in the process to move up into P2.
Well, at least at the moment, I think that was more of a defensive play from Abner because he kind of just blew by Trent right there. And again, I don't think that's a lack of speed from Trent. I just think it's maybe 85% in the throttle, that saving fuel, not pushing it too hard. They don't have to right now. They control this race. And behind, though, we're starting to see some moves get made inside the top 5. The 21 of Lou Christian going side by side with Paul Bergoli. Bergoli started the race in 4th, is right now fighting to maintain what was 5th place for him, but he's back into 6th now. He doesn't have the run down the outside straight. The Nellis straightaway. We get a good look on board with Lou Christian. We see his view. Jose Acosta caught the apron, is sliding up the track right in front of Christian. Keep your foot in the throttle, he says.
What a tense moment for Jose there. Looked like he got a little loose on the entry there, and it just shot down the track on him for some reason.
You know, sometimes you just try and get the car as pointed as possible for a nice run off the exit, but sometimes you go a little bit too far down, and he's lucky he didn't get loose after hitting the apron. It sent him up the track, but he got his foot out of the throttle just enough to let it kind of roll around. Maybe got his foot on the throttle immediately after to try and get the car turned to the left a little bit more, but nonetheless, we stay green, no incident up front. We watch on board with Pat Harvey, who is in 13th position right now as a driver down the inside. That's Richard Pruitt, but I think he'll clear him. Going into this corner, he'll duck down. He'll take the air off of that 924 machine of Pruitt. And we're all single file for the time being. Some cars getting loose on the exit of 4, though. And we still have some pretty good racing right now in the background.
Yeah, Dylan, the mid to rear of the pack is still pretty chaotic. Most of your top 20 is single filed at this time, but that back of the pack there, still looking to try and make some moves and duke it out back there pretty strong. And we had a pass for the lead. Abner has gotten around James for the lead.
You are absolutely right about that. It happened on the last lap coming around turn 2. Again, I think it's just if they have the run, why fight? If you can maintain this advantage, could you imagine a 1-2-3?
Oh, big wreck in the backfield there. 3-4 cars involved, at least.
It's a stack up between 1 and 2. The 76 involved, the 79 involved, as well as Colton Easterday. Oh, that's a big wreck on lap 12 of this 150 lap or 1 hour 30 minute affair. Big mess. And we look at what we're getting in our feed. It looked like it was Loga, Easterday, Staropoli, Callahan, and Macy and Medina all involved in that incident, which was quite the stack up. Easterday and Medina both have meatballs.
Yeah, really unfortunate incident. As we get a replay here, it looks like they're trying for 4 wide. Oh, some contact.
Pinball.
Man, what a mess. About 5 or 6 cars total involved there. Yeah, just 4 wide did not work out for them going into turn 1 there, and unfortunately bounced off each other and caused a big mess.
Yeah, and is that Easter Day who was kind of sandwiched? He was the second one down the inside. I felt like he didn't do much wrong just from looking at it. Oh, no, he might have. He got sandwiched, went up the track, and all of them were involved. I feel worse for anyone who wasn't going 4 wide right there. At the end of the day, you can't really make 4 wide work here, but they could have. It was just, you got to be cautious when you're 4 wide. It's not a situation you get yourself into almost ever on a 1.5 mile track. So when you get 4 wide, you got to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings and your braking points. And when you get back on the throttle, everything you got to be a little bit more aware of. So unfortunate end to some drivers' races, especially ones who needed a really solid day in this one. No competitors, though, were taken out that are running in the playoffs right now. So that is still going to be ongoing, what we'll watch. And it hurts some of the drivers who need others to have really bad days if they want to make it an on points mark.
Yeah, 100%. Fortunate none of our playoff drivers were involved. But, yeah, the points game, for the guys under the cut line, they were probably hoping that it would start more closer to the front and get some of these guys out there for points.
So we're only 12 laps of green flag racing in. It's nowhere near time to have to worry about your tire situation. If you're running in the back, though, do you maybe consider topping off on fuel just in case strategy comes into play later on in this race? And of course, if you top up on fuel, you might as well get one of your 5 tire sets that you have available to you in this race.
Yeah, me personally, if I was 20th place or further back, I definitely would have pit. Just roll the dice and do a little gambling, because it's Vegas. Why not?
It is Vegas, baby.
Gamble a little bit and see what you can make out of it.
I always love seeing the Las Vegas-based puns from broadcasters, social media people, reporters, anyone. When we go to Las Vegas for anything in the NASCAR field, the NASCAR industry, because can we think of things that aren't, Vegas gambling related? Because it is funny. Can we come up with how many terms we can use? You and I, Mark. Let's make it our point to roll the dice here and get 21 in this race. What do you think? A lot of Vegas terms we want to use.
We can certainly give it a shot here. That's for sure.
I really wish you would have said you hope to get snake eyes here for sure, but it's okay. All bets are off for sure. We get from our race control person, Nick Hunter, in the background. Oh goodness, this is going to be a fun show. Let's see what this restart has in store for us here as we get to the restart zone. Control car is Abner Acosta. Green flag back in the air, a decent jump, but he's not going to let himself get too far away from the 9 and 33. His teammates right in behind. Look at the 42. That was a great jump for Acosta. Bad jump from everybody else.
Yeah, it looks like James might have been caught just sleeping a little bit. Paul Brigoli got caught sleeping a lot of bit there. And Jose able to make a move from the inside of James and steal P3 away.
But because of how draft heavy sometimes these next gen cars seem to be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, everyone stacks up fairly quickly and there's a lot of infighting for, again, top 5 positions, and especially just outside the top 10. There's kind of a breakaway with the top 18 cars. Everybody else is in their own mini pack that is starting to fall off a little bit. We come out of 4. Abner Acosta still leads by multiple tenths on teammate Trent Dinkel. James O'Brien passed by Jose Acosta. Does this now lead to some more aggression from private label Team Hype? They're no longer in a 1-2-3 situation.
I don't think it's time to panic for Team Hype at this point. As we watch Lou Christian and the 15 of Maverick Davis and the 12 of Paul Pergoli all battling it out real hard here. But no, they still know they're the fastest cars out there, I think, at this point. So just a little patience and kind of play it by ear.
Well, I'll tell you who is not going to want to be patient. That's Jose Acosta or Luke Christian, who is trying to make a move around the outside of James O'Brien. Christian, not clear yet, was thinking about going down to clear. Could not. He's still going to run that outside line. Now side by side with Jose Acosta. That's going to compromise Acosta's line. Trent Dinkle trying to block two cars at once. O'Brien in behind. This is getting a bit interesting and uncomfortable as Dinkle will just slow it down big time. The 42 has to react and get out of the throttle. He's trying to save those tires for as long as he can.
Yes, that is definitely the goal for Team Hype. Christian and Davis on the outside, completely opposite. They want to get to the front and they want to get there now.
You could say they want to take their money and run, for sure. That's what you should do if you're up big in Vegas. But nonetheless, Christian trying to use those tires for all it's worth. Jose Acosta gets down to the apron a tiny bit. You saw him get loose and shoot him up just a tad. Look at that. Really fast car. Maverick Davis, always aggressive, always fast. He started in 12th. My question about Davis as we view his concentration cam, if you will. That's who we're concentrated on. He's going to try and make a move down the inside of Christian, but it's blocked off just a tad. He gets loose right up to the bumper. He's so good at showing speed. His racecraft sometimes, I feel, could use a tad bit of work as Dinkle falls to Acosta, who's trying to make a move on Davis. And Acosta, well, I should say Abner Acosta, who was in the lead for most of this race, is potentially losing it to Luke Christian right now.
Yeah, new leader at the line. Luke Christian leads that lap. Got the Acosta brothers on the bottom lane trying to fight against Christian and Davis on top. And a couple laps ago, saw Abner throw a pretty aggressive block on Luke Christian down towards the entry.
Oh,
Christian get in the wall.
That was
my goodness.
Big slap, a tank slapper up against the outside wall out of turn 2. How does his car handle? How does he react racecraft-wise after that? He loses a few thousandths, a few hundredths there. And Acosta, Jose Acosta, I should say, almost gets into him. Trent Dinkle, a great view of what's happening. The concentration on his face. You see he rides just down at the bottom. He's okay with just riding a little bit in the back right now as Jose Acosta slots up in front of Luke Christian. Dinkle, if 5th is back for him, then everyone's in trouble if he's saving his tires right now. He's hoping that this race has a long green flag run. On the outside of him is Federico Windsor-Holder, started from 10th, trying to move into 5th.
Yeah, I think it's starting to get go time for some of these guys. I feel like pit cycles are going to probably start coming up in the next 20 laps or so. And they want to try and make their way up front, get the car positioned as high as possible so that they can have a good pit stop and try and maybe play an undercut on some of these guys.
That is, if we get to that point. These drivers have been extremely aggressive with each other already in this race. We're only 26 laps into it, 150 laps, this scheduled distance. However, there's always a chance if we get the amount of cautions that we could potentially get, that this race stops at the hour-and-a-half time limit. There is only 27 minutes gone from that limit. 1 hour, 3 minutes to go. We should easily, at this moment, get in the full 150 laps, but we'll keep you updated if there's a lot of cautions to come in this race. I hope not. Always love a good strategy race and a good dogfight between some equal cars and drivers. That's what we're getting right now, Mark.
Yeah, Dylan, the intensity is definitely ratcheted up, but I'm going to go ahead and put my money on green at the roulette table and say we get a good long green flag run.
I love that. I love that. What's the, green, yellow? That's what, 3-2 odds, something like that?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anything from past history is to go on, Trent Dinkle is going to take his 9 car to 1 by the end of this race. He's trying to make a move down the inside of Lou Christian right now. Always bet one for number 9.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid bet there. It's usually a gimme bet as far as being consistently up top there in the number 1 position, winning races. He is a very strong driver and looking to showcase his stuff here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
We're around 25, 24 green flag laps on this set of tires for everyone in the field right now. Look at this burst of speed from Bruno Mello. Had a great run coming off of turn 2, used it down the Nellis backstretch and is trying to make a move down the inside of multiple drivers. On his outside at the moment is Paul Brigoli, but he lost some speed, lost some momentum coming out of turn 4, boxed in. He's going to try and choose his own line and see what works. Corey Ensing in the 025 machine just in front, that yellow and black car. Oh, he goes up high. Mello goes down low. He's gonna have a run down the inside. The question is, how good is his exit? He gets tight on exit, takes his foot off the throttle, loses momentum. As we've talked about before, Mark, I feel like that outside or at least middle groove is gonna start to come alive here.
Yeah, we should start seeing the top lanes be the preferred groove here shortly, with the tire wear coming into play. Yeah, we are 31 laps for most of the front runners here, and for those that haven't pitted, I would assume they would start moving up to the top lanes here in the next 5 to 10 laps.
Yeah, I feel like 30 laps, give or take, something around that point is when the tires start to have a little bit more of fall off. You start to not be at that cliff, obviously, but you see that cliff is in sight. The one gets really loose, hit the apron. That was Chris Vincent, who set the fastest lap time just early in this race. It was actually on lap 6, running in 7th at the fastest lap at 31.0. That was almost the end of that moment, or actually it looked like it was Eric Papanow now with the fastest lap of the race. At the time it was Vincent. So yeah, Papanow set it on lap 18. We got some more updated information for you. Nonetheless, Vincent, fast car, almost lost it there.
Yeah, the Harbo Cleaning Services car almost cleaned out the field with that incident on the apron.
Could have been bad. Could have taken out a lot of the rest of the field. Some updates. Colton Easterday has told some of the drivers that he was involved in that 4 wide was not his intention, and he apologizes. So hopefully everyone else understands. Wrecked race car is something to think about. If it happens in the real world, though, you have a lot of money to have to try and pay to get that car fixed. Thankfully, this is in the virtual sim racing world of iRacing, and we've got some good action on hand with 2 private label team hype drivers running 1-2 side by side. Does this slow up either one of them at all? Trent Dinkle says, why would you even ask that question? He's now in first, and he was saving those tires to perfection. I always get worried. You know how when you see an ocean, the waves start to kind of pull back and you know that a tsunami's coming, you know the aggression is coming? Well, Mark, I feel like with Trent, when you see him start to lay back, that's because you know those tires are gonna heat up at the right point when everyone else has burned them off.
Yes, and that's exactly what he's banking on. As you see the 025 of Corey up on the top side, he wants a piece of this, and he's gonna move up behind Trent. That was a great run off of 2.
Wow, that was a wonderful run. Does he keep it going? Did he save the tires maybe a little bit better than Dinkle? He got a little bit tight around 4, but he keeps the foot in the throttle and he's able to clear him. So Ensing up 3 spots in 1 position, up 14 for the race.
That was a heck of a run for Corey. And yeah, new leader, Corey Ensing.
We'll see how long that lasts until other big movers in this race. The 43 machine of Chris Hudson started 27th, is right now up 11 or 12 spots, depending on where you want to place him in the pack, as they cross the line, officially up 12 spots, running in 15th. Still fighting, though, with Chad Kibbe and the rest of the crew for those positions. A lot of side-by-side action going outside the top 15. Hudson was not allowed to qualify for this race. He was the first driver of the 4 that did not set a lap time to start where they did in this race. And for his efforts, he's being recognized as one of the fastest movers in this race. Give him another 2 positions.
Yeah, watching Abner, he's falling back through the field. I'm curious if he's maybe overheated his tires or he's just extremely tire saving right now. As Jose has gotten around Trent Dinkle for P2, Trent now falling down to 3rd.
I do wonder if there's a little bit more to this than what initially meets the eye, because saving your tires is not necessarily a linear process. Sometimes you'll want to save, and then the next few 5-6 laps, depending on the context of the race where everybody is, you could put, I don't know, you could save some more, you could push some more. It really depends on where you feel like what you can think will give you, I can't speak for some reason, will give you the best chance to win this race, because you only got to be half a car length or less in front to win this race. Doesn't matter how you get it, it matters where you stand at the end. And hey, Dinkle's right there. If he wants to turn up the wick for one moment, he absolutely can. Some drivers, like Chris Hudson, have no choice but to turn up the wick. Hudson, though, has lost a few positions since the last moment we talked about him, so we'll keep you updated there, as it's starting to get a little bit calm up front.
Yeah, things are calming down just a little bit up front. But speaking of private label team hype drivers, James O'Brien has fallen down to 15th position. So he must have really hurt his tires when he was leading this race early.
Yeah, absolutely may have hurt those tires. James O'Brien, as you see him trying to just deal with the issue right now, I feel like, you know, this is too much. We're not talking about tire saving mode at any point anymore for O'Brien. You drop this many positions into the back, it's because you've put yourself in a bad spot, and now you're just trying to coast to the end. And as my friend says, you need to know when to hold them and know when to show them and know when to walk away. You know what I mean?
Yes, entirely I do. You need to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Or is it gotta know when to fold them and then know where to hold them? Race Control's singing right now. It's not just drivers that like to sing on the in-race chat, and that is why we love Nick Hunter being part of our broadcast in specific ways. And I will say, Mark, you drive yourself quite a bit. Has Nick ever penalized you?
I'm probably the most penalized organizer the PRL has.
Well, you should wear that as a badge of honor, and I cannot wait to announce your next race and mention that every time. We'll watch your restarts very closely. How about that?
Well, you need to watch the wall more closely than anything. That's my favorite place to be.
Hey, and my favorite place to be is talking about you guys into the wall and not putting myself in the wall of my own doing, because that would absolutely be happening. Up front, oh, there's some contact, by the way, for the lead. Dinkle and Ensing had a little bit of a body check with each other, met in the middle, entering turn 1. These two are fighting hard now.
Yeah, this is a great battle between Trent and Corey and Jose right here. Corey's hanging tough on the outside there, giving Trent a great run for his money. I like to see it.
Run for the money for sure, but Jose Acosta is going to be in the slipstream, has a run on the 9 car. We've seen 4 wide not work. We've seen 3 wide moderately work, but I don't think at this current point that's going to work. Look at the slider from Dinkle, who gets really loose. He tried to slide right up in front of the 025. They swap positions now. It's Corey going down the inside. Dinkle pinches him. They're getting naughty now. There was contact.
Corey went for the crossover, slid up just a hair into Trent, got a little sideways. Great save from Corey, and they keep moving on.
No, it was funny. I looked at it a little bit of a different way. I saw Ensing move up a bit, but I totally saw Dinkle come down to pinch as much as he can, which he is allowed to do. Enough space for Ensing to be there. He just had to take his foot off the throttle a little bit more. What a good bit of racing. Hard, but in my opinion, pretty fair racing from both the 9 and 025. But tell you what, if I'm in a position later in this race as the 025 where I can maybe get him back a little aggressively, I absolutely would after a move like that. Fair, absolutely fair, and fun for us to talk about. That was bold, though, at this point in the race.
Yeah, you can bet on Corey remembering that one, that's for sure. As Jose ducks under him, he's looking for a move into turn 3.
Jose Acosta trying to take advantage of that 025 machine that has some heated up tires right now, and really interesting side note, Mark, that I feel like we've got to talk to you about. What are your thoughts on some of the races that we've had in this season 4 so far, and not just the Cup, but also Trucking Xfinity? I know we raced pretty hard at the Charlotte Roval and the Xfinity cars, obviously, that the PRL Grand National Series runs, but there was an interesting race at the Roval. What do you think about that?
Well, I thought that the Roval race last weekend was pretty good, especially early on the first half of the race. And of course, as the race runs on, the cars spread out. It gets a little bit boring towards the second half, but Abner and Trent put on a heck of a battle for the lead and the win for that race.
This is true, as some drivers at the back of the field starting to say they're coming into the pits. Someone might have told me to ask you about that, and specifically, the round of 8 and the round of 12 and playoffs, and maybe Las Vegas involved in it. I'll let you offer any answers, Mark, to that Roval race and where you were.
Oh, if you're referring to the Grand National Series race on Wednesday, well, I was where these guys are right now. I was out in Vegas as P3 Corey Ensing ducks off into pit road for his pit stop. But I was in Vegas getting married. I got hitched a week ago.
Awesome time, man. It was funny. I was when we were watching that Grand National race, and of course the truck race that precedes it. And we kept seeing the 2, 3, 4 drivers just not there. And I hear, Mark's having his wedding. That's a really fair reason to not be there fighting for a playoff spot. But it would have been nice to also come back and find out you were in the playoffs as more drivers come into the pits. Hey, you were there. I was not, so I just talk about it.
Yeah, it was... I thought I'd be good with missing that race to make it into the round of 8 for the Grand National Series, but I missed out by 1 stinking point.
Just how the dice and the cards fall, if you will, but it was for a very, very solid reason. Some drivers have taken their cars into pit road. Pat Harvey, one of them, as well as Joshua Daniels. So those are some pretty hard-hitting names that have taken themselves into pit road. Trent Dinkle continues to lead. We currently are watching as Matthew Campbell will be coming out of the pits or into the pits, I should say. We still have got a pretty good race on our hands. If it stays green, it becomes a moment of strategy, and you got to wonder if Dinkle was really saving as much as he could. There's still a lot of drivers that are right there, right close in, as well as we start to reach some of the later stages of this first opening. It's not a stage, but it is in the flow of the race itself.
Yeah, and the one thing Trent is not wanting to see is the dreaded yellow flag. Yes, I'll say it. But during these pit cycles, you do not want to see a yellow flag, because that just throws everything out the window.
Look at this. Dinkel's in. Davis is in. More drivers coming in down pit road. And what do you think of this? A little bit of a overcut, if you will. Usually, I would say the undercut is always the way to go if you're in the lead. But it's very intriguing to me that Dinkel came down as early as he did. I would usually suspect him to try and get as much as he can out of those tires for an aggressive final run. He goes in though, and now the leader of this race is Jose Acosta over Abner Acosta and Paul Bergoli. This is going to be an interesting strategy call. Dinkel had a full 4-tire fuel stop. We expect everybody else to do the same. More drivers coming into the pits. Abner Acosta will come into the pits. James O'Brien, the rest of Private Label Team Hype coming into the pits as well. We'll see if they can get those cars slowed down as they come across that yellow commitment line. But now, leader of this race remains Jose Acosta.
Yes, Jose Acosta doing a great job this evening at Vegas Motor Speedway. And Dylan, speaking of the overcut, if you're going to try it, this is the time to try it, because they still have one more pit stop in the bank to make before they finish this race out.
Yep, just one more needed for fuel. There's no restrictions on these fuel tanks, 100% capacity. Sometimes in other leagues you will see 70 or 60%, even 50% capacity of fuel tanks. Nothing like that here. We see more drivers coming into the pits. Of course, our race leader, Jose Acosta, has put himself down pit road. The current leader of the race, Chad Kibbe. You see all the activity going on down pit road. It's not always full, but every few laps you see a swath of 5-7 cars come down pit lane, which is very weirdly shaped here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's very curved, so usually you'll see a very straight pit lane and pit road entry, and here you really just don't see that. Chad Kibbe is well, he's smiling from ear to ear right now as he's racing with Robert Bisol Jr., who has just passed him for the lead. One can wonder what he's saying as that he takes that Jordan machine into second at the time, maybe hoping for a caution.
Yeah, and this is great for Bisol, leading these laps, getting an extra bonus point for that. And he's praying for a yellow right now. He wants to catch everyone a lap down and remain the leader of this race. This would be perfect for him.
Of course, you get points when you do lead laps. Lots of bonus points. New fastest lap set by Park Hilliard for a 29.983. Actually, it was Mike Witt who set that fastest lap time on lap 56. New tires working out beautifully right now. And I was wrong again. It was Witt who just sets it this lap with an even faster one. So goodness me, we're getting the information, and then a moment later we get more information. It's almost like racing. Things happen very quickly as Richard Pruitt will take his car down pit road. Callahan, McDonald, Kibbe, Bisol Jr. are the only 4, I believe, who have not come down into the pits yet.
Well, Dylan, as far as the way we get our information, it's not like we're going at 180 miles an hour around here or nothing.
Yeah, nothing like that, nothing wild. Not like there's cars at every moment on this racetrack making laps. Not like Talladega or Daytona where you have a pack of cars just coming by every 50 seconds, right? You got at least one car coming by every single moment here.
Absolutely. As we're watching Bisol leading laps right now in that beautiful black number 3, paying tribute to our friend and fellow race car driver, CM Pennington, which I'd like to mention that we are providing a fundraiser, this evening for CM Pennington and his foundation, the St. Jude Children's Hospital. So we'd appreciate everyone taking a moment to donate $1, 50 cents, whatever you can, and just help out a great cause. And I want to shout out to CM Pennington if you're watching. We love you, man. Keep fighting.
CM Pennington, he wants everyone to support the St. Jude Hospital. He is really, really a brave man for saying, you know what, I want to make sure things in the future, kids in the future, get the treatment they so require and deserve. And in that sense, you can check it out in our chat on our YouTube RaceSpotTV stream. There's a GoFundMe link there, a $2,000 goal, and already raised $705. Always, please, even if you want to do it at another point, St. Jude's a great organization to benefit CM Pennington, much loved by everybody in Precision Racing League. And you know he's definitely smiling, watching right now, wherever he is right now, watching this and hearing us talk about what he's hoping that he can inspire people to do. And hey, we wish you well. I never personally got to talk to him, but I know, Mark, you have, and many people in PRL has, and you know, just a great person.
Yeah, as we look at Joshua Daniels with the white ribbon and the 44 ever, he was a longtime competitor in the truck series. 44 was his truck number. So a lot of us in the racing community on the PRL have put 44 ever on our cars, myself included, in the Grand National Series. And yeah, we miss him being out there on track. We wish he could come back, but we know things aren't always what we want. So you just keep fighting the good fight, brother, and we miss you.
CM Pennington, we hey, hopefully you're enjoying this race, this broadcast, some of these schemes, obviously, as we've highlighted for you, 44 ever. And I will say there's a 4 ever and a 44 ever. I quite prefer the 44 ever tributes that we've got going on in PRL. But nonetheless, we do have a good race on our hands, as I'm sure CM wants to see right now. And Maverick Davis, who is just coming out of the pits as we speak. He's up to speed, as you see on your screen. Tristan Callahan, the current leader of this race, but this is for what you could say is the provisional lead of the race. And they're trying to scoot away from Trent Dinkle.
Yeah, they might be burning up their stuff early here, trying to get that gap there. Tristan being our only holdout for a pit stop right now. And looks like Corey's going to have this spot to himself for the time being. But yeah, about a 2 second, 1.5 second gap to Trent Dinkle from these guys here. And they might need to save some tire just for that fight later on.
Absolutely. And I almost wonder if they're just hoping to scoot away as quickly as possible. So in the case that Trent, well, in the case when Trent is able to get that speed going up again, that there's a big of enough difference for it to matter for him not to be able to catch up. Honestly, though, if this is tire saving for Trent, this is a great bit of tire saving because he's still going fast and in fifth, first and second, right on each other's tails. This is some great racing.
Yeah, and I think Maverick realizes that he had an opportunity to duck under the 0.25 there on the front stretch and chose better of it. He's just going to keep pushing Corey, trying to keep that gap growing.
There's a gap that is kind of fleeting, I feel, as Dinkle moves into fourth. Let's not forget, though, Jose Acosta in that 42. He's been fast in this race, and how much would a win mean to any of these drivers? Well, for Jose Acosta, who is only a few points above the cut line, it would mean a ton for his inclusion in the round of 8.
Yeah, I would love to see Jose or any of the other competitors come away with the win this evening. I don't mind seeing Trent win, but he wins a lot like Jimmy Johnson does, so I'd like to see someone else in the victory lane this evening.
Jose Acosta is currently sitting at plus 12 at the time being, 12 points above 9th. Jose Acosta in 7th. Luke Christian is sitting 10 points above. Got word that Chad Kibbe is setting some extremely fast times in the midfield right now, but He did pit a little bit later, I believe, than most. We'll see how long that continues as Davis and Ensing continue to fight like cats and dogs. Jose Acosta and Trent Dinkle starting to reel them in.
Yeah, as we noticed on the leaderboard, Tristan Callahan finally brought his car down pit road for some go juice. And now we get to see the official fight for the lead here.
Fight for the lead has been going between two. Let's make it three. And how about four as Dinkle comes into screen? Fifth and sixth sitting just a little bit behind. And in fifth place right now, Chris Hudson up 22 positions. Davis slides up to the wall. That's going to give Jose Acosta a run, who has to come to his left a tiny bit. Down the inside, the pass for second. Easy does it. Davis took his foot off the throttle, applied some brake, gets down to the inside, tries to get another run going. But how about this? Jose Acosta down the inside of Ensing, going to take the lead, heading into 1 inches ahead. Will he get clear at the end of 2?
Passing on the bottom lane is definitely harder than passing on the outside, but it looks like Jose nearly has him clear, but the run on the outside is too strong for Corey, and he's going to go in side by side into turn 3 and 4.
I think as there's a little wiggle from Ensing, it's going to give Acosta the spot. He's clear by inches. He comes down to the apron. A big run now from Ensing, who thinks about diving to the inside, but Jose Acosta kind of mirror drove a little bit right there. Blocked him off. Ensing loose. Will he come up the track? Will he save it? Still keeps saving it. There you go. That's some good rally racing there, but he's going to lose a lot of spots in the process.
Oh man, that reminds me of my race from Wednesday night, except I had help getting sideways on that one.
I always get sideways when I am racing, but nonetheless, some great fighting. Ensing has fallen back to 8th position, P7, I should say right now. The 5 of Abner Acosta currently sitting in 8th place. Dinkle in 3rd. He's right there, but don't count out Chris Hudson. If anyone counted out Chris Hudson, they'd be crazy. I mean, the fact that he has clawed his way with all of this pretty much coming under green flag conditions is remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I know Chris Hudson is a pretty stout driver in his own right, but 22 positions under mostly green flag conditions is very, very amazing. I mean, that's just a very strong drive. He's got a very good setup in that car, and he is taking full advantage of it right now.
As this race continues to carry on, we're multiple laps past the halfway point. Do you feel like there is any strategy to play around with in the last pit stop, maybe with tires or trying to stay out as long as you possibly can?
Most likely, most of the front runners are going to probably just pull this as close to halfway between the fuel runs as possible. You're definitely going to want to take 4 tires. 2 tires is not going to cut it here on these long runs. You will get eaten up in no time flat on a 2-tire strategy. Now, of course, if the caution comes out later in that last bit, maybe 2 tires will help, but even then it's going to be iffy.
See the 025 of Ensing starting to go side by side with Abner Acosta, who smelled blood in the water, got a bit loose and recorrected it out of turn 4. But Bruno Mello has a run as well, dives down to the apron, back up for the entry into 1, and will just kind of shadow in between both Ensing and Abner Acosta at the moment. Jose Acosta leads the way. Trent Dinkle in behind. Maverick Davis fallen to 3rd. I don't know who the favorite is in this race. I feel like if you had to select one, as there's almost a collision there. If you had to select one who was faster than the rest of them, maybe by margins it's Trent Dinkle, but Jose Acosta has been fast. Maverick Davis has been very fast. Chris Hudson, well, he's been fast. So who knows what can happen in this race?
Indeed, and watching the 025 getting loose again through turns 1 and 2. I saw Abner with a slight wiggle off of the corner exit just a lap or two ago. Both drivers able to keep going forward.
This is the hardest, most intense battle we currently see on track. 3 cars under a blanket, all fighting over position number 7. But I have a feeling that there's a lot more spots in this top 10 that are going to be up for grabs. Abner Acosta gets very tight, loses a lot of momentum off of turn 2. Will lose that spot clean to Ensing. Will he lose another spot to Mello? Drifts up a bit. Mello with the speed looks to go around him on the outside, and he clears him just barely, heading into 1.
Yeah, it just looks to me, Dylan, Abner just struggling with the rear end of that car right now, particularly off of the exit of turn 2. It just does not look comfortable for him. I don't know if he's just pushing too hard on throttle at the exit, or if it's just not something with the setup right there. But Abner definitely struggling right now.
Yeah, Abner is definitely struggling at the moment, while his brother Jose Acosta is having a fantastic race going for him. Dinkel has closed in just a bit. I gotta be honest, if this is Dinkel pushing or if he's still saving just a tad, I don't know if Jose has been saving anything. I'd like to say probably not. Does that bode well? You know, if we have a short run, I think it's anybody's race. But as Jose Acosta got really tight on the exit of 2, Dinkel has a run, and I'm having a hard time seeing it as anyone's race other than the 9 on paper. But that's on paper. That's not a motor race. That's what we have right now. Do you feel like if the flow of this race goes as it has been going, Mark, is there anyone else that maybe could take Dinkel on for size? We're obviously seeing some great racecraft from the 42 right here.
Yeah, Jose's doing a great job as Trent Dinkel looks to the inside in turn 3 here. He's going to try to pull up under him. I don't think he's going to have the run off the corner like Jose will. And yeah, in fact, he does not. And but if this race stays green, Dylan, I'm going back to that roulette table. I'm putting all my money on the 9, all of it.
All of it on the 9. That's a bold move, and I hope it pays off for you. The 9 hopes it pays off for you as well. There's a block from the 42. The 9 does not take that in kind. Will swing down to the inside and drift up a bit. Some contact between Jose and Trent. I'll tell you what, Dinkel has been a little too aggressive in this race, trying to make a pass for the lead. Comes up, hits the 42 again.
Oh, man, I love seeing this. This is aggressive out of both drivers. 42 kind of a little low on the exit of the tri-oval there. And he gets into the wall a little bit there on the corner exit. Got to keep an eye and see if that car sustained any damage, and maybe it'll slow him down at all. But Trent Dinkel looks to have this well in hand now. It looks like it's his race to lose.
Is that fair racing? As a driver, Mark, I'm sure you say yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's fair. That's hard racing, but it's clean racing. You know, the little door slam here and there never hurt nobody. But as long as it didn't send anybody into a wall or into the infield or anything like that, it's fair and clean.
Now, is that a difference between, for example, you know, is there any difference in the type of racing that makes it clean or not clean racing? If it's a 1.5 miles versus going to a short track, for example, does that change it at all? As Acosta gets a good run?
Yes and no. You know, at a short track, contact's definitely going to be more likely, more prevalent. It just depends on how you go about doing it. So for instance, you know, when I got bumped on Wednesday night by a fellow competitor going into the corner, I know he meant to hit me and kind of move me out of the way, but he didn't mean to do it as hard as he did. Luckily, I was able to save it, but it wasn't super clean, but it's just hard racing. It's situational. Dylan. It just it's situational. It just, and a lot of it has to do with how the receiving driver views it, which 9 out of 10 times is not going to be receiving it well.
Now look at what Jose Acosta is doing right now. Look at how much they touch again, and Jose pinched Trent as far down as possible, doing it again a little bit through this tri-oval. This is some hard racing right here. Could it reach ahead?
It could. It could reach to a point where both drivers have had enough. Oh, looses Dinkel off the corner there. He saves it. He's not going to be happy with himself there for making that contact. But yeah, you got to pinch these drivers down low if you want to try and save or secure that spot and stay ahead of the driver trying to pass you. Man,
that is some fun racing. I'll be honest, Jose sticking with it and getting this spot back for even if it's just one more lap in the lead right now. It's still showing Trent that it's not the Trent Dinkel show tonight. It's the Jose Acosta and Trent Dinkel show for now, but everyone else you see coming out of turn 2, they want a piece of the pie too. Paul Pergoli has pulled in to third and has reeled in just a few hundredths each specific lap. Acosta loose on exit of 4. Dinkel with a run down the tri-oval again.
And this is almost picturesque of what I was doing on Wednesday night with my fellow competitor. I was pinching him. I was in the middle lane. And Dinkel got a little loose in the middle there, and but yeah, after 6 or 7 laps of my competitor trying to pass me, he said, "Okay, I'm just gonna give you a nudge." And I mean, that's how racing goes sometimes.
And racing goes the way of Trent Dinkel for now, who takes himself into the lead of this race. It's around now that we expect to see tires become more of a factor in this race. Trent is being forced to use the tires more than he was in this last race, or I should say last green flag stint. Could that maybe affect his overall strategy and pace later on as we near pit stops?
It definitely could. Trent has definitely had to work harder than he wanted to get around Jose. So that's definitely going to take an effect on his tire life and his overall pit strategy as well, as far as he might come down sooner, or he may just say, gamble on it and go out later and hope for the best.
Vegas, baby. Luke Christian coming into the pits.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think Jose knows when to fold him, because he's still right there with Trent, and I think he's going to go on the attack here in the entry to turn 3.
Christian hard on the brakes, locks up the tires just a little bit, but he'll be the first one of this, pretty much the whole field, to make his final scheduled stop of this race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Waldo Walden coming in as well. We still watch on with this great fight for the lead of the race. There is some traffic right up ahead. That's Richard Pruitt, the last one on the lead lap. Does he fight to keep himself on the lead lap? We shall see. Christian out of his box, ready to go back onto track.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Luke Christian coming down at this point is going to trigger any other drivers to make that decision to come down. I doubt it for the front runners, but maybe some people in the back. We see Waldo in the pits as well. Excuse me, and Park Hillard as well. He's in the pits. But I'm curious to see when these leaders come down based off of that.
More drivers, of course, starting to make their passes through pit road. Walden was the last one we just saw. Corey Ensing coming into the pits. Ensing running in 5th. That's the first of this kind of group of cars that we're seeing in this race make that pit stop. So curious to see what that does for the rest of this race. Man, this is some intensity. I'm curious. This strategy is interesting. They're trying to split this almost in half in a way.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier with the pit strategy. Typically you want to do it about halfway because it takes away some of the advantage of doing an undercut or overcut. But Jose's starting to fall off of Trent right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Jose goes for an undercut here.
An undercut might be the right strategy. Why do you say you wouldn't be surprised?
Well, I think he went with the overcut last time, the last pit cycle. I think Jose stayed out after Trent for a couple laps, and I think he's starting to see the fruits of that, of coming down earlier for Trent. He's got the better tire life right now, so I don't know. I just think he's going to go with the undercut. It's a gut feeling. You know, it's Vegas. Take a gamble.
There we go. We love that. We love that. 924 swinging pretty hard through this battle.
Oh, contact in the back.
Big wreck.
The apron. Well, excuse me.
Abner Acosta is going to be out of this race potentially. Hard into the inside wall. We'll have to see exactly what happens in a bit. Because it was off the racing surface, no caution. That is huge for the championship leader at this point. He's still losing control on track. We'll catch a replay. The 3. Did he get loose? No.
Abner just gets loose. Yeah. Abner gets loose off the corner exit and comes down across the nose of Besaw. Yeah, very unfortunate. No yellow flag. But I'll tell you what, Dylan, you know, at the same time, he had that win last week, so
he's good for the playoffs.
He is good.
He legitimately could take the round of 12's next race off as well, and he'd be good because he won last time out. We're all good in that sense, so that helps for sure ease the sting of that wreck. However, that 27-point lead he took coming into this race in season 4 of the PRL, that might evaporate by the time this race is over, especially with Trent Dinkle leading the way as we speak in this one. We still see that fight. Acosta sticking with him is so impressive right now.
Absolutely, it is very impressive. I am happy as all get out to see Jose hanging tight with Trent Dinkle here for this race win potentially, and I hope he's able to continue hanging on for it. And yeah, just coming back to Abner, I know he's going to be kicking himself hard for that mistake.
I don't remember ever seeing a pure mistake from Abner Acosta in a PRL Cup Series race. You just don't see it from him, and not the worst time though, I'd say, to pick to make your mistake. If you were going to make one, it's when you've got that points lead, that cushion up top in the season 4 standings, and you're already into the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Do it while you've already won.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad time. We see more cars coming back on the track, cycling from outside the pits. Around 50 laps of tires on this run. Oh, Dinkle's coming in. He said, I've had enough. Acosta does the overcut, which is not exactly what you thought, Mark, would happen.
No, honestly, I don't know if Jose knew he was coming in. That looked like a little close to rear-ending them right there coming into pit road.
Trent on 54-lap-old tires, and he'll, of course, the 23 of Chad Kibbe's coming down too. So we see Dinkle on screen, just waiting, ready to go back to racing action. This always is agonizingly long as you see the cars just roll on by you, but he does have pit stall number 1 at the end. Much easier to get it moving and get it on track. You just pretty much stay in the throttle, don't let the tires slide or spin too much, and get moving again. So pretty decent in and out time for him. We'll see where he blends in once Jose Acosta makes his stop, which is happening right now. You see live pictures bottom right. He locked up the tires as well.
Yeah, very hot coming into pit road. We'll have to keep an eye on, see if he got a black flag for speeding or not. Hopefully he didn't, and I want to see him get back out there and take this fight to Trent.
Oh no! Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Acosta missed his pit box. He had to reverse it and get into his box. That's gonna be at least another second or two added on to his overall pit time. Dinkle coming around turn 4. This should be easy. Acosta about to cross the pit exit, and goodbye, Trent Dinkle says, right now.
Wow, that was worst case scenario for Jose right there. B-Saw was able to get around him as well on the exit. Worst case scenario for Jose. That, if it stays green, that could very well be race over for Jose as far as trying to win this thing.
A brutal pit stop. Eric Papanow just set 2 fastest laps right in a row. So he's fast. He could use a good result for himself. He'd like a win, but he's just really far in the back of this pack. So fastest lap, you do get some bonus points for that, but it's just nothing. It's nothing compared to what he needs. Winter Holder now is the fastest.
Brewer entering pit road very early down on the apron, almost got loose and spun out.
Feel like this pit entry is difficult, is proving difficult for some of these drivers to get to. It's coming right off an exit, which, I mean, they pretty much all are. So I wouldn't expect them to have as many issues as they've had, especially with just getting into their box. Remember, it is curved, so it does add a little bit of weirdness to it, as we continue hearing reports about one of the drivers on the outside looking in to move on to the round of 8, Eric Papanow. He fighting it loose right now. So loose off 2, almost potentially lost control of that car, but keeps it moving. He's running down in the low teens at this moment.
And we got Corey right here. He's about 3/10 behind our leader, Trent Dinkle, or our soon-to-be overall leader, Trent Dinkle. I think Corey, he pitted a few laps before Trent, so I'm curious to see if he'll be able to have the tire life later in the run to fight Trent.
That will be a curiosity here, and you do know that Acosta, that it's a 3-lap difference between them. Is that really going to be the end-all be-all? Now, by the way, we really haven't mentioned it, but Chris Hudson is in the lead of this race after that pit cycle. He came in a bit earlier. Does Dinkle just run him down easily is the question.
My guess is yes. Trent, I think right now is just saving his stuff for later in the run, as he always does. But I think Chris came in several laps earlier, and Trent's clearly in the later parts of this run just going to run him down and pass him like he's standing still.
Like he's standing still is what you say, and that gap, it's at 1 second, but the moment it goes from a plus 1.0 whatever to a 0.0 whatever, it becomes a little bit scarier if you are that 43 machine. And Dinkle, to his part, doesn't have to save as aggressively as he did on that first green flag run. He didn't save as aggressively as much on that second green flag run. Here, it's a much shorter run to the checkered flag as we get to lap 120 of 150. 31 laps to go in this race. We're starting to reach the point where, while a caution would change things, it wouldn't change too much. If a caution came out and say 15 laps, 10 laps, then some drivers have a choice to make. And I wouldn't say that choice would be, do I go for tires or no tires? I'd say, do I go for 4 tires or 2 tires? Because you don't want to be a sitting duck at the end of this race if a caution did come out.
I agree completely. However, someone in the back, as far like a B-Saw or something like that, well, he's showing P6 right now currently, but he may do the 2-tire strategy and just try and get a few extra spots for points.
This is very true, as we hear reports that Matthew Campbell had a moment off of turn 4 not too long ago, had a wreck, and Yeah, he hit the wall and had to go through the infield grass, but never had the car turned around, serving a penalty in the pit box as well. But we see this battle going on. Maverick Davis involved with Corey Ensing and Paul Bricoli. This is for overall third in this race without any problem from anyone in behind. So Mike Witt, by the way, who has shown a lot of speed in this series, but also been involving himself in a lot of extracurricular contact with these cars to other cars. Has gotten himself a meatball flag on lap 120 off of turn 2, so some cars starting to drop off like flies right now.
Ooh, Corey Ensing with a little bit of a tank slap off the exit of turn 2 there, right in front of Campbell, able to keep it going straight. Jose Medina moving up towards the wall, letting the leaders go by. Always a respectful drive from Jose, trying to get out of the way of the faster cars. But this is a great battle between these three. Campbell looking to the outside just a little bit. And now we move up to Chris Hudson getting passed for the lead by Trent Dinkle. And Dylan, I think he was standing still.
I think he was certainly standing still. I'd say you're right about that. However, I think Chris is going to feel a little bit better when he starts to pass some of these lapped cars. Does that ever help, I guess you could say confidence level, momentum level in a race when you see a group of cars, you're chasing another car on your lap, and these cars, as you see now, these cars are side by side, but we're talking about some of the lapped cars. If you can easily dispatch of them while you're trying to chase after someone, does that give you some confidence that, yeah, you still have a fast car, you can go after him?
It can, but at the same time, so if I was behind the wheel, I'd be like, well, these are typically guys you see at the back of the pack on a consistent basis, so you should be faster than them regardless. And that's not a knock on the drivers being slow. That could be they just don't have a good setup in the car or anything like that, or they're on different strategies.
Oh, there's a wreck down the backstretch! Huge wreck down the backstretch! Multiple drivers involved. The two slid just underneath the track. Still no caution. That was a 2-car wreck with a massive spin, but because it was all off track once again, nothing happens. Tristan Callahan has accepted blame. Here's the replay. Hits the wall, comes down, hits the 2. Massive hit. All 4 wheels off the ground.
You might need an ambulance for that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he barely came on the track, but still, the caution. Barney just wants to go home, man. Yeah,
here's something interesting for you.
Yeah.
Trent Dinkle putting down Abner Acosta a lap. You don't see that very often.
I also don't think Abner Acosta is going to serve as too much of a challenge to Chris Hudson. Couldn't even stay beside him to take away his line on the exit of 2. He tried, but he has an ill-performing race car at this moment and just had to let that spot continue to go. Couldn't help his teammate right there, as Acosta, as we said, 1 lap down as we speak. He is the first driver a lap down, so if a caution did come out, we would get him back onto the lead lap courtesy of the free pass. Chris Hudson is keeping within some solid distance of Trent Dinkle. The question, for me at least, is Dinkle just playing with his food a little bit right now?
Most likely he is. He's gotten around Chris. That was the hardest part, was just catching him, getting him around him. Now he can just take his time, save his tires, and see if any other fights come later in the run.
Chris Hudson, we see on board with him, has that triple screen set up, wearing, is that a 45 hat he's got on?
That's what it looks like to me. I wonder if he is a Tyler Reddick fan.
It looks, I need to confirm my suspicions, but it looks like almost like a petty hat of sorts.
Yeah, I just look at that logo on the side. You could be right. It's hard to tell, but it very well could be.
I believe Adam Petty was in the 45 machine. That looks similar to his number 45 font. If that's the case, then I feel that I know my NASCAR number and font history a little better than maybe I thought I did, but nonetheless, still a fight on hand between Jose Acosta and Ensing. Acosta was fighting for the lead earlier in this race. He's kind of been replaced in that role by Chris Hudson due to Acosta's own mistake, but don't forget, he still has speed. He slides up, Ensing gets loose, and Acosta has to take his foot off the throttle. Tries to pack air on his left rear, and that might help him here in the 3.
Yeah, trying to do the side drafting a little bit. Didn't work out too well. They get really close to door slamming each other right there. Acosta not wanting to go all the way down to the white line. And they are still side by side through 1 and 2. This is a great fight.
Yeah, this is an awesome fight. It's really showing that these next-gen Cup Series cars on mile-and-a-half cookie cutter circuits, if you will, they can race really well here. There's some good racing to be had. I think the, obviously the next gen, as there's some more potential contact between the 42 and the 025 down that tri-oval. Maybe the potential issues on this car, or what was great about the Gen 6 car with the road course racing and short track racing. Hopefully over the life of this next gen that gets fixed. Acosta almost slid up just barely into the left rear quarter panel of Ensing. Ensing has caught himself out a little bit. Did he just give a shove with netcode to Abner Acosta, who tried to maybe block for Jose?
It's certainly possible. From that angle, I couldn't really tell, but Abner, I know, has been struggling with a very loose race car, especially since that little accident. Oh goodness, Jose almost gets into the left rear quarter panel of Ensing. We've been talking about it, we've been showing it. These two are battling so well right now, and I don't know, I think Abner may have been trying to help brother Jose right there through that run. Abner is still loose though, so he is completely dropped behind them in picture. You can see still side by side. Yeah, Dylan, I'd like to point out too, Jose's on much fresher tires compared to Corey, at least by a couple, 2 or 3 laps at least, because Jose stayed out longer, and just I'm being told it's a 10 lap difference between the two. And that just goes to show how powerful the middle line there is through the corners.
That is a wild difference, actually. That 10-lap difference here. It might not show its head between, say, laps 20 to 25, 15 to 25, whatever you want to say. That they'll run pretty equally. But as there's more contact, as they lean on each other, Jose and Corey Ensing, they keep it moving. They've been side by side for what, the same length as the tires are fresher for Jose, that 10-lap difference. Once you get to like lap 30, I feel like you really start to again see that difference between both cars and their tires come to fruition. Bigger contact this time between Jose and Ensing. This is getting aggressive and a little bit ugly.
I feel like before this fight is over, someone's going to be playing some Kenny Rogers with know when to hold him and know when to fold him.
Oh, goodness. And look who is trying to take advantage. See that number 3 machine of Robert B. Saul Jr.? He is right there. Potentially, you could maybe have fit a piece of paper between those two, but it might have been trapped multiple times against those two cars fighting right now for 5th place. Is this B-Saul Jr.'s spot to lose at this point?
I think B-Saul is just lurking. He knows these guys are fighting super hard, and he's just like, okay, guys, wreck already so I can have your points.
Or just, slightly wreck. Don't want to see your races end, but maybe you do. Oh, that's a big slide up. Acosta pinballs. That was very reminiscent of an earlier incident that he had with clipping the apron and sliding up the track. This might be the first time he's actually made significant contact with another competitor. They're still side by side, but now B-Saul Jr. wants a little bit of the action.
Yeah, Dylan, you got to think that those cars are now damaged on the fenders. with that. It was pretty significant contact, and that'll definitely hurt him on the straightaways. But glad to see they were both able to keep it straight. I definitely think when the 025 got sideways, door banging the 42 again is what saved him.
Oh boy. Beasall Jr. backed off just a little bit. Quick update up front. Dinkle has stretched his legs a bit. 1.2 seconds between he and second place runner Chris Hudson. The bigger problem that Hudson has to worry about is Bergoli in third, who has caught up to him just a bit ahead. We get a helicopter view. Just out of our picture is the action for second. Acosta slides up again. At this point, if you're Corey, you've had enough of the leaning from Jose Acosta. A few times, okay. This is almost every single lap there's some contact from the 42.
Yeah, to be honest, if I was in the driver's seat of the 025, I'd be pinching even harder. I was like, okay, I know he's sliding up into me. I know it's a risk he'll hit me, but it's a bigger risk that he'll spin himself out running up into me.
And it is an interesting thing. Look up top left of your, well, top left, top at the middle of your screen. This is for P2. Hudson, Bergoli, Maverick Davis in the picture as well, just behind these two. Bergoli is clear of the 43. That's for second place as the laps wind down. Fifth place, we're still seeing that battle between Ensing and Acosta. Acosta has some traffic. He's going to try and pinch Ensing, trying to move as a pick. It almost worked. If there was still some straightaway, more contact. Ensing angry on the radio. Way to send it in there, Jose, he just said. Jose responds. What did he say? Part of the game, he says. Oh boy. Jose
Tempers
better scoot away.
Flaring.
Yeah, Jose might want to scoot away now.
Yeah, if I'm Corey, I'm chasing him down and I'm retaliating. A little bumped into the corner, you know, just, hey, I'm still here.
It's part of the game. It's just part of the game. Laps are winding down. 5 laps less for the leaders in this race. Look at this. Ensing tries the middle groove. He's going to get a big run. By the way, Maverick Davis down the inside of the 43 for P3 at the moment, but sliding up. Multiple battles going on track. None of them, though, are about the leader, Trent Dinkle, who starts his final 4 laps now. Look who's caught up. The 025 has caught up to the 42. The 15 underneath the 43, but slowing it down. 025 picks the middle groove. The 15 trying to battle with the defenses of Hudson, who cuts his air off just barely. Was free into turn 3. Davis is going to slide up on the exit of 4, maybe get a run. Hudson tries to block. He comes down low on the other end of things for 5th. Ensing side by side. He tried to almost pit maneuver the 42. They're going to go into the corner. The 15 went side by side but lost ground. I'll tell you what, watch the 025. Because he totally tried to wreck the 42 right there. They're going to be side by side. Lap car. Is it going to be a pick? Sliding up. The 42.
Jose giving a lot of room on the outside there, too. He did not want Corey to slide up into him.
I think he knows. He's pretty upset. Lap car. Which lane does he choose? How about both at the same time? Acosta gave room. The 025 got tight and lost some momentum on the inside.
Yeah, coming up to 1 lap to go here. This fight is intense.
Unbelievable battle. Not just for this 5th place spot, but also for 3rd. Dinkle is 1.5 seconds in front of the rest of the field. People already congratulating him on this win. He's got 2 more corners to negotiate. That's in the bottom right side of your screen. In the top, in the middle, it's the battle between Acosta and Ensing for 5th.
Jose
Dinkle
breaking the
rounds
draft.
turn 4. He's going to win it here at Las Vegas. All eyes turn to the 025, who's right there. He gets right up to the bumper, but he's
so
not
close.
going to get the 42. Oh, goodness. Davis caught Hudson at the end to get into third. What a battle at the end. And Ensing says, good race, Jose. I'm glad I raced you. So that was a quick temper flaming out there.
Yeah, I think as frustrated as Corey was with that door banging going on, I think he had even more fun just racing that hard.
Trent Dinkle winning. I don't think anyone's surprised with that one. Gets the win. Looks excited as always when he gets the win. And he's going to try and burn it down. Jose says that it's nothing personal. He hopes that was nothing personal. So they might have some words after the race just to talk about it. But burning it down over the stripe at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Trent Dinkle has punched his ticket. If it was ever a question into the round of 8, he would have done that on points alone, no matter what, after this race, however. So it's a good feeling, though, to get it with a win and to keep burning that one down. 40 forever with the tribute scheme to CM Pennington.
Hey, Dylan, I'll take my winnings now.
Hey, but you don't get much when it's always the favorite right there in Trent Dinkle. But Dinkle with the win in this race will be just 1.5 in front of Paul Brigoli. Great run from Brigoli. Started 4th, ends up in 2nd. Maverick Davis up 9 spots from where he started the race. Gets the final podium spot by passing Hudson in the last lap, who started in 27th. That's a gain of 23 spots on the night for Chris Hudson in that 43 machine. Jose Acosta, Corey Ensing, Bruno Mello, Chad Kibbe, Robert Beasall Jr., and Joshua Daniels, your top 10. As we keep it moving forward, Luke Christian, Waldo Walden, Pat Harvey, James O'Brien, Eric Staropoli, Eric Papanow, Regan Chandler, Federico Windsor-Holder are all the cars in the top 18 who finished on the lead lap. Jay McDonald, Abner Costa, 1 lap down. Richard Pruitt also a lap down. Then we start to get to the 3s, the 4s, and even more laps down. Tristan Callahan, 22nd with Medina, Amacy, Vincent, Hilliard, Witt, Campbell, Loga, Easterday, your 30 competitors in this field. Federico Windsor-Holder on lap 113, the fastest lap at 29.642. He'll get that bonus point for the fastest lap. And how about this? Bruno Mello, we were just here racing with a broken foot. That is an awesome performance for him to finish in position number 7. Well, we've got some of our finishers in this race. And how about this, Mark? You want to take our 2nd and 3rd place finishers, starting with Maverick Davis, and then we'll get to Trent at the end.
Hey, Maverick, congrats on P number, was it 2, I believe you finished?
3rd. I finished 3rd.
Sorry, my timing sheet froze on me. P3, that was a heck of a drive from you there, Maverick. How did it feel out there? Was it nice and hot and slick for you?
So, I was kind of nervous for this race because I didn't really feel prepared. Went out there and just turned some laps, tried to get comfortable, and just had a good time racing around everyone else out there tonight.
Well, it looks like you had a good time. You got things figured out pretty quick because you brought home that top 5 spot. And do you think you had anything for Trent tonight?
I mean, I couldn't really say that. I mean, Trent's just in a different area code every race, it seems like. I mean, maybe if I had more time to practice throughout the week, and I'd maybe be close, but Trent definitely earned this win, just like he does every other win, and he was definitely way faster than me.
Well, Maverick, next week is Homestead. Do you have any thoughts towards that race? Any predictions for yourself?
I don't really think I'm not going to predict a finishing point. I just know every week I show up hoping for a top 10, and if it's a top 5 like the last 2 weeks, I'm ecstatic. Well,
Maverick, you certainly showed great pace this week and last week, and I hope you keep it going the same way next week at Homestead. Great race tonight. Anyone you want to thank?
I want to shout out my team owner and sponsor, Michael Peters. He couldn't make it out here tonight because he is currently sick in the hospital. So prayers for him, and hopefully he gets better. We don't really know what's going on at this moment. And also shout out to my parents for making this amazingly fast driver, and you guys for this beautiful broadcast. And I guess that's it.
Most certainly. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Davis. We appreciate that. And hopefully your team owner gets better on the mend sooner rather than later. And thank you, Maverick. And you have a great night.
Yep, I appreciate it.
That's your third place finisher, Maverick Davis. Now in the booth, we got second place, Paul Brigoli. Paul, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, not too bad. How about you guys?
Oh, just watching an amazing race. Looks like you had a pretty fun battle between Chris and Maverick there towards the end. Did you think you could do anything different to try and run down Trent?
Well, with the way the race played out, it all came down to pit strategy. Maybe if I, followed him right in and was on his tail, I might have had something for him, but I'm happy with the way it worked out.
Yeah, I like asking that question just because Trent usually, like Maverick said, is usually in a different zip code. And I just like to get people's opinions on what they might have been able to do differently. But you had a great run tonight. Happy to see you up in P2. How did the track feel to you?
It didn't feel too bad. It was a little hot and windy, but besides that, it felt good. We had the setup tuned in for it, so it wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, anytime you can finish in the top three, you definitely have to have a tuned up setup, that's for sure. Well, Paul, do you have anyone you want to give a shout out to tonight?
Let me thank Zydax PCs for building the monster that allows me to do this every day, and Ryko Setups for building a hell of a set this week that just put the work in, and also my wife who's working tonight at the hospital. So, and you guys. Besides that, good to go.
Well, Paul, we appreciate that. Look forward to seeing you out on track at Homestead next week. And you have a great rest of your night.
Yes, sir. You too. We'll see you then.
All right, guys. That's P2 finisher, Paul Brigoli. Dylan, you have Trent Dinkle on standby, do you not?
I absolutely do. Trent Dinkle. We talk a lot at the post race of a lot of these races and these broadcasts, and I'm always amazed with one thing, and it's not the fact that you come prepared with the marketing efforts for private label Team Hype, but it's the fact that you just know how to conserve tires, when to go, when to not. Is that something you've always just worked on, and is that the key to your success, you'd say?
I mean, I've definitely had to work on it just because, when I first, joined and even when I was on this team, that's where Abner would absolutely, kick me up and down the hall every week. But the tracks we've had so far, it hasn't really been a good idea to save. Bristol, if we would have been able to have green runs up to like 100 laps, I would have been golden, but then it just got to that point where the cautions just kept coming, and then obviously the road course, there's nothing to save. You just drive as hard as you can. But yeah, it was tough to save. I'm not gonna lie, just because you get swarmed up and it's really easy to find yourself driving the crap out of it when you should just be chilling. And I think in that first run I had to let like Corey and Maverick and Abner, James, they all went by me, and even Abner and James were in the same Discord, and they were, struggling pretty bad after 20 laps. Really the only person, Jose was pretty fast after, 30 laps, but I think I would get around him, and then I think he was driving a little extra hard, pinching me down in the corner, not leaving me much room, but I think he was just trying to stay in the lead. But then the problem was when I would get around him, the draft is so strong in these cup cars that I could never get away from him when I was, maybe not clearly faster, but I felt like I was way faster. But the draft through the front stretch, he would, go from 3/10 back to being, 10th and a half back just from the draft. So it was definitely interesting, but it worked out finally.
We were talking, myself and Mark Kalen in the booth, we're talking about the differences with short track racing versus maybe intermediate track racing when it comes to contact, right? Going into the corners, leaning on the other cars around you. We saw a little bit from that from you tonight. We saw a lot of it from the battle for fifth at the end of it there. But where do you feel like, is there ever a type of track that, in stock cars contact is less acceptable than others? Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I know sometimes I get pretty frustrated, driving, but I try and, I don't really think hitting anybody's the right way to do it. I mean, I think it was Corey and Jose were the ones that I had trouble with, but it was more like, and I did it to Corey, where when 3 and 4, if you're on the top side, you could run down, suck all the air off the door, but then you had to peel back off because they're tight under you. And then like with Jose, that happened to me a couple times, like we just get locked up. And then when he would pass me in the middle through 1 and 2, he would be right on my door when it's getting me tight and I'm going over bumps and the car's just moving up the track, and it's like, well, I don't really know what you want me to do here. And then the same thing going into the corners, like a lot of the people, for whatever reason I don't understand, were taking, going down on that apron. And I never did, but there was a couple times where like I was underneath somebody and it was almost like they expected me to drive down to the apron when I'm still on, the racing surface. And I think me and Corey got locked together pretty good. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal because, there wasn't any damage. It's just kind of a little annoying. Like, I guess I try and give everybody an extra inch, even if it's to my own demise, but sometimes you never get that in return.
Hey Trent, it's Mark. How's it going, man?
Hey, what up?
So I wanted to ask you about Abner. He seemed to be struggling this evening, and it also looked like he was struggling on Wednesday in the Grand National Series. Did he mention anything to you in the Discord about what his struggles were?
I mean, I know he said he only slept for like an hour and a half because of his kid, but and then I don't really think he did much this week. Practice. I think he ran the race before PRL opened up, but I do think Vegas is one of those tracks where it looks like a fairly simple track, but with the way that the draft is, you have to know where you got to almost drive the car deeper to the corner, because if you lift early, then you're frying the right rear, getting it through the corner. And usually he's perfectly fine, able to jump in with zero practice and then he wins, but apparently tonight that just wasn't gonna happen.
Well, I appreciate that, Trent. You did an outstanding job this evening. Congrats on the win, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Hey, congrats, Trent, on that win. And we'll see you competing in the round of 8 like it was any question in the playoffs.
Sweet. Sounds good. Can't wait.
All right. Trent Tinkle, private label team hype driver, gets the dub here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What he was saying about, how Vegas is difficult once you get to racing, and a lot of drivers always talk about the bumps too. It's the bumps at Las Vegas that you don't always see until you experience it behind the wheel of the car itself. And that, of course, in a car like maybe an Xfinity Series car that is used in the PRL Grand National Series, that's a different challenge. But Dinkle conquered it, and from that 1.5 mile track to one of the more unique 1.5 mile challenges on the PRL Cup Series calendar. It's in the southernmost part of Florida, Homestead Miami Speedway. We're going to come at you live next Sunday from 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. One of my favorite tracks in all of NASCAR. I'll be there next weekend myself. I'm first time there. Mark, you ever been there?
I can't say that I have.
Well, I'll make sure to bring plenty of pictures and maybe find myself a gator or two to bring back to North Carolina. But Nonetheless, that's where we'll be. RaceSpotTV, YouTube, same time, same place. Bookmark, subscribe to RaceSpotTV. We've got PRL action all throughout the rest of the week on RaceSpotTV of different series. Make sure to tune in. But from Mark Kalin, Hugo Louise, Nick Hunter, and myself, Dylan Coyle, we wish you a pleasant good evening, good night, and good racing.